Most people in their 20s are making financial decisions that feel completely normal, but are quietly expensive. Not because they're irresponsible, because no one actually taught them how money works. These are the most common mistakes, and most of them are fixable once you know they exist. The first mistake is not having any financial system at all. Most people in their 20s don't have a budget, don't track their spending, and couldn't tell you their actual monthly expenses without guessing. They earn money, spend money, and check their bank balance when they get nervous. The problem usually isn't one big purchase. It's the accumulation of small, automatic charges that nobody reviews. Streaming subscriptions, food delivery fees, apps that bill annually. Individually, each one feels minor. Together, they can easily add up to $200 to $400 a month, leaving your account without you actively deciding to spend it. You don't need a complex budgeting system. You need 3 numbers: your monthly income after tax, your fixed monthly expenses, and what's left. That's the foundation everything else builds on. The second mistake is treating a higher salary as permission to spend more. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it happens gradually enough that most people don't notice it happening to them. You get a raise, so you move to a slightly nicer apartment. You get a promotion, so you lease a slightly newer car. You start eating out more often. None of these decisions feel wrong in the moment. Each one seems like a reasonable upgrade. The problem is that your savings rate doesn't improve. Sometimes it gets worse. Here's a simple example. Someone earning $40,000 a year manages to save $200 a month. They get a raise to $60,000. Their income increased by $20,000, roughly $1,650 more per month before taxes. But after upgrading their apartment, their car, and their spending habits, they're saving $250 a month. They earn significantly more and have almost nothing more to show for it. A raise is an opportunity to increase your savings rate, not just your standard of living. The two don't have to be mutually exclusive, but the default behavior for most people is to spend the difference. The third mistake is carrying credit card debt and only paying the minimum. Credit card companies set minimum payments low on purpose. A typical minimum is around 1 to 2% of your balance, or a flat fee, whichever is higher. Paying only the minimum keeps you out of default, but it barely touches the principal. Here's what that looks like in practice. You have a $3,000 balance on a card with a 22% APR. Your minimum payment is around $60 a month. At that pace, it takes over 6 years to pay off that balance, and you end up paying roughly $1,800 in interest on top of the original $3,000. You spent nearly $5,000 to borrow $3,000. Credit card debt at 20 to 26% interest is one of the most expensive forms of debt that exists. Paying it off ahead of schedule is one of the highest guaranteed returns you can get on your money. The fourth mistake is trying to invest before having an emergency fund. Investing is good, but investing while having no cash buffer is a problem most people don't recognize until something goes wrong. An emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your living expenses sitting in cash in a separate account you don't touch for normal spending. Its job is not to grow. Its job is to be there when your car breaks down, when you have a medical bill, when you lose a job. Without it, the next unexpected expense either goes on a credit card, adding high-interest debt, or comes out of your investments at whatever price they happen to be that day. If the market is down when you need the cash, you lock in a loss. Build the emergency fund first, then invest. The fifth mistake is not contributing enough to your 401k to get the full employer match. If your employer offers a 401k match and you're not taking the full amount, you are turning down part of your compensation. A common structure is something like this. Your employer matches 50% of your contributions, up to 6% of your salary. If you earn $50,000 and contribute at least 6%, $3,000, your employer adds $1,500. That's a guaranteed 50% return on those dollars before the market does anything. Many people in their 20s either don't know the match exists, don't know what their contribution threshold is, or are contributing below it. Check your plan details. Contribute at least enough to get the full match. This is one of the few places in personal finance where the math is completely one-sided. The sixth mistake is waiting to invest because it feels like you need more money first. The reasoning usually sounds like this: I'll start investing when I'm more stable, or I'll start when I have a real amount to put in. The problem is that time is the actual input that matters most in investing, and waiting has a cost that isn't obvious until you look at the numbers. Here's a direct comparison. Person A starts investing $200 a month at age 22 and stops at 62. Person B starts investing $200 a month at age 32 and also stops at 62. Same monthly amount, same 7% average annual return. The only difference is a 10-year head start. Person A ends up with approximately $525,000. Person B ends up with approximately $243,000. Same contribution rate, same investment return. The 10-year gap produces a difference of nearly $280,000. Starting small is fine. Starting late is expensive. The seventh mistake is keeping all savings in a regular bank savings account. Most major banks pay between 0.01% and 0.5% interest on standard savings accounts. That means $5,000 sitting in a regular savings account earns roughly $5 to $25 per year. High-yield savings accounts offered by many online banks currently pay around 4 to 5% annually. The same $5,000 in a high-yield account earns $200 to $250 per year. That gap compounds over time and requires almost no effort to capture. Setting up a high-yield savings account takes about 15 minutes. It doesn't require closing your existing account. You can keep your regular checking account for daily spending and move savings into the higher rate account. Most people who make this switch wonder why they didn't do it sooner. The eighth mistake is not understanding how taxes work on their paycheck. A lot of people in their 20s receive their first real paycheck, see the number is lower than expected, and move on without investigating why. The result is that they don't understand what they're actually earning, what's being withheld, or what happens at tax time. Your pay stub shows deductions for federal income tax, state income tax in most states, and FICA, which covers Social Security and Medicare. FICA alone takes 7.65% off every paycheck, regardless of your income level. Your effective tax rate, the actual percentage of your total income paid in taxes, is almost always lower than your marginal rate, which is the rate that applies to your highest dollar of income. Confusing the two leads people to think a raise will leave them worse off, which isn't how it works. You don't need to become a tax expert, but knowing your effective rate, understanding your withholding, and reviewing your pay stub once is worth doing. Surprises at tax time are almost always avoidable. The ninth mistake is buying a car based on whether the monthly payment feels manageable. Car dealerships present financing in a way that makes expensive vehicles feel affordable. It's only $450 a month, sounds reasonable until you account for everything attached to it. Take a $28,000 car financed over 60 months at 7% interest. The monthly payment is around $554. Over 5 years, you pay roughly $33,000 in principal and interest. Add full coverage insurance, often $150 to $200 a month for a newer vehicle, plus routine maintenance, registration, and fuel. Total 5-year cost of ownership can easily exceed $48,000 to $52,000 on a car that's worth significantly less than $28,000 by year 5. The monthly payment is the least useful number when evaluating a car purchase. Total cost of ownership is the right question to ask. The 10th mistake is not knowing their credit score or how credit actually works. Credit affects your interest rates on loans, your ability to rent an apartment, and in some cases, your job applications. Yet many people in their 20s have never checked their score and don't understand what determines it. The 5 main factors are payment history, the largest component, credit utilization, which is how much of your available credit you're using, length of credit history, types of credit, and new credit inquiries. Of these, payment history and utilization make up roughly 65% of your score. The basics: pay on time, every time. Keep utilization below 30% of your credit limit, ideally lower. Don't open several new accounts at once. Don't close old accounts unnecessarily. Length of history matters. You can check your score for free through your bank, your credit card issuer, or annualcreditreport.com. Knowing where you stand is the starting point. These mistakes are common because money management isn't taught in most schools, and the financial system doesn't come with an instruction manual. Every one of them is fixable once you know it exists. Pick one to work on first, not all 10 at once. If this was useful, subscribing helps the channel make more of it.